1, 2, 3, 4, get my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great.
Hello and welcome to the Between Sessions podcast, a health and fitness podcast powered by the EFM Health Club in Australia. With me, as always, the OG from Oyen. They were in the news not that long ago. Wade, I can't quite remember the story.
Do you want me to fill you in?
No, I don't think it was a good one.
We were in the news, but moving right along.
We're hopeful that Michael can get off circus training for a little while and join us, but we'll carry on without him for now. Hopefully, he logs on. So today we want to discuss something that we've already talked about, I think, a little bit in terms of prioritizing exercise. But today specifically, when life gets hectic, really busy. So the backstory to this, as Wade and I have been discussing, and the reason we missed last fortnight's podcast on top of Easter was that I've just recently started managing a second EFM. It's only about 15 minutes up the road from Westmead at EFM at Bella Vista, which happens to have its corporate partner as Woolworths. And so I have been spending double the amount of time I would normally do, plus a little bit, inside both health clubs, forming kind of relationships here. So things have got quite hectic for me. The other side of that is that in 3 weeks' time, I'm competing in a 50-kilometer trail run that I've been training for 9 months. So very present front of mind for me is, how do I keep training while all of this work, family, life gets in the way? So, Wade, have you had similar previously?
I was going to say, when you brought this up yesterday, this topic, you don't downplay your travel time as well. Like, you travel how far from home to work?
Yeah, it's at least 40 minutes each way.
Yeah. So time's often blamed as why we can't get fit, and I think perspective is a big part of it. But I think knowing how busy you were and only just imagining how busy you are now, I reckon you'd be probably just about qualifying for saying I don't have time to do this at the moment. But you are, and this trail run is 50 kilometers.
Yeah, it's 50 kilometers through the Blue Mountains, so Katoomba to Wentworth Falls, essentially. So it's a big event. And look, I've gone soft. Like, I've never run 50 kilometers before, but I've gone soft and only done the 50-kilometer version. There's also a 100-kilometer version, and there's a 160-kilometer version. So I look at the people who do the 160 as nuts. But I'm very sane who just runs 50. So look, I'm not the world's fastest runner, long distance runner, and by no means a huge athlete. So it will take me.
Training, So what I'm trying to get across to the listener is we just want to train for life, which is 2 or 3 hours a week, right? To be prepared to run 50 kilometers, how many hours a week?
I have been, before taking over here at Bella Vista, I've been running 3 to 4 times a week. And so one long run on the weekend, and it got up to 38 kilometers one morning, which is a little bit shorter than I wanted to do. I wanted to get.
And how long does that take?
About 3.5 hours.
See, there's the average person's good week of training.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to get at. Duration. Yeah. 3.5 hours for one run. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's on a weekend. So look, I'll tell you my schedule. I don't really want to make it all about me, but I guess I'm the impetus as to why we're discussing this. So I'll do a shorter run, early in the week, usually Monday, and I'll run while my son's at soccer training. I'm stuck in the car. So a short run is about an hour, so I might do anywhere between 8 and 12 kilometers. And then later on in the week, Thursday, I'll do again about a 12 to 15 kilometer run. And then weekends, as it's been building up, Sunday morning, I'll be up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, which I'm kind of used to because we open the health clubs early. And as the distances built up, be gone for 3 hours. And if I do a long, slow run, which is a technique, 3.5 to 4, so that I'm back home without anybody knowing. Like that's because it's quite a selfish pursuit, trail running and long distance running. You're out, you need big chunks of time. So,
it's a bit like playing golf. It's a bit like playing golf.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is the other thing you've done in your life. So what's that telling me?
Well, anyway. It should tell everyone that my wife's not happy with my choice of activity. She has mentioned it multiple times.
You can play social basketball. My games are done in 45 minutes once a week. But anyway.
That's just a warm-up. So look, the trail running, so it's on in 3 weeks. I posted something on social media today. I think it's going to take me about 6 or 7, maybe 8 hours to run this thing. Because it's 50 kilometers plus a bit, and there's 2.5 kilometers of elevation. So think about going vertically for 2.5 Ks up. So it's exciting, but a little scary. So what I think I've had to do, and this would be my first point. I don't want to make this, and we've had this discussion way before. We don't want to make this the boring. Make sure it's in your diary, and make sure you prioritize, and everyone's heard that 1,000 times. So
it gets to a point where they're just words. I don't know what the definition of a cliche is, but something to do with it loses its power when you hear it too many times, maybe.
Yeah. So we've had a real good brainstorm here and thought about the different ways that I've been kind of working through it. And look, you've got 2 younger kids, so you strike similar issues.
Don't forget Daisy. Oh,
you've got 3 now.
Yeah. For nearly 4 years. Thank you. But anyway.
All right. Yeah. So let's think about this. So the first thing I've done, and we spoke about a bit earlier, is kind of identify the person that I want to be during this. And it'll be quite a while having 2 before we get systems set. Having a few traits that I want to live by, that I want to make sure that represent me, is the first thing that I thought about when I'm trying to balance everything. So, and it's just a couple of words. So I want to identify myself as a hard worker. That's, something that if other people were to describe me, that's what I'd like them to say. He works really hard. He's a hard worker. So being able to get up early on a Sunday morning kind of ticks that box for me. Yeah, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get this done. I want to be a hard worker. So having 3 or 4 traits that you live by, I think is the first essential thing that not a lot of people would think about or talk about in this space.
Yeah, my own personal experience of that, bit of a different slant on it, but I've got this bloody ulcer on my foot, which I've had for 12 months now. I've had my moments of wanting to give up, go on a pension, sell the club, and just, because it does get very sore, very challenging. But getting back to what you said, I want to see myself as resilient, as tough, as being able to go outside the norms of what's comfortable, what would the average person do. I don't want to be that. I want to defy the odds, I suppose, in a way. So it makes a lot of sense what you say when doing some research on this. That's how I see myself. And then that provokes the actions that are in line with that. You know what I mean? So like if sometimes I just want to call in one of my coaches because my foot's so bloody sore and say, can you come in and do tonight? But I'm like, that's the sign of weakness in a way. Like that sounds like that's a bit of a cop out. I know if I push through, I can do this, and it'll all be over. I'll get to the end of the shift and I can get my foot up again. But just going back to what you said, I think that's how I see myself. And I've never really thought about it like this. That's how I want to see myself. So then I'll just be way more likely to do the actions within the parameters of that.
Yeah, because you're representing yourself. You're answerable to yourself. And I think you can also measure and evaluate your own, I guess, effectiveness in that. So, if you're supposed to do a training, if I'm supposed to do a training session and I sit and do something else for a little while and miss half of it and go out and do the rest, I'll give myself a score out of 10 each day. How hard did I work today? A 7 or 8 or a 9, is 8 or 9 is great. 7, you're like, I could have done a little bit more. Being organized is another thing, another trait that I've applied to myself. I want to be super organized. And that doesn't mean I don't miss things, but being organized and being planned so that I've scheduled out my week. And I didn't want to get into diarizing, but it's more being able to evaluate myself off the trait that I want to exhibit. And it's a really effective way for anyone who's got kids who play high-level sport, or if you're a high-level, aspiring to be at a high-level sport, you need something. You need to be able to talk about yourself, even to yourself, in a way, this is what I represent, and whatever it takes, I want to have these core values that represent me in this sport or in this business or in this environment. Yeah,
it makes me liken this to values when it comes to goal setting within having a business or personal goals within your career. It just makes me wonder where these, how you see yourself. What was the word you used again? Like, if you want to see yourself as organized, you want to see yourself as hardworking. Yeah. I know, it just makes me wonder where those things actually come from. But each individual, whether they've thought about it or not, would be able to list at least a couple, you would think, wouldn't you? And it sounds like a really good place to start. Yeah. So that was the first point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the second thing I've had to think about is allocation of time. And so what I've come up with is that, look, I'm probably not short on time. I am short on energy. So there's an energy time trade-off, right? So I need to be a little bit more selective about where I choose to put my energies, right? And I choose to put my energy into some running and some strength training during the week. I'm a little bit different. We've spoken before about strength training. I like to do 1 set and get the hell out of there. Like 1 set per muscle. I don't do 3 sets because I get a little bored with it. So I find it to go more effective to go 1 set to failure, so I can be done my strength training in 20 minutes. But I choose to allocate my energy there rather than wondering about how I'm going to do this time-wise.
Yep. You feel like that's more efficient when you do it that way? So you do a set to absolute failure, as opposed to leaving a few reps in the bank, having a rest, doing another set, still leaving a few reps in the bank, and then okay.
And so I'm done my workout in 20 minutes, my strength workouts. Which is odd because I don't get bored running for 3 hours, but 15 more minutes in a weight room has me like checking my phone.
I had a conversation with someone this morning, similar things, and I said, we're talking about when I was younger. I don't know if I'm getting off track here, but I was quickly side note. I wanted to, and I think this is just a human thing, and everyone experiences this at some point with their training. How do I get the most out of my training with the little effort as possible? So I wanted to get bigger and stronger for footy. And I was always trying to work out what gives me the best bang for my buck. And as you get a bit older and wiser, unfortunately, you realize it's just a 1-for-1 effort in, results out. And then I was talking to Bill this morning, and he was like, maybe people looking for more efficiency. And I thought, well, that is a good point. So if you do dumbbell chest press, your core's not working at all, you're laying on the bench. And then to work your core, then you might have to spend some time doing a plank. But if you want to make it more efficient, do a push-up, because you're doing a chest press and a plank at the same time. So, and as we know, if an exercise is harder, then you're going to be getting more out of it. But then there's the other thing is that attractive? Am I going to be more likely to do a workout if I know that I can do some chest press and planks separate, even though it might be as efficient, but I'd be more likely to do it. So you can go pretty deep on this stuff.
Yeah.
But anything with intensities, that's an Instagram post I saw recently last week about the intent, and I'm getting a bit off track, but the intensity, they basically did a study on a whole group of people and looked at the benefits from medium to high intensity training. And their conclusion was it doesn't really matter what you do as long as you do it with a bit of gusto. And I found that was quite interesting.
Yeah. So I kind of prescribe to with, like gym workouts or strength workouts, even with mixed cardio in. It's I can either do a short, intense workout or a long workout. I can't do both. You can't do long and intense. So there's too many breaks, and so I choose short and intense. And so what I've been, in terms of where I channel my energy, I'm constantly during the day, and I guess it can be exhausting this way, but constantly choosing where I put my energy. So I'll ask you, like, what's better way to go? It's a pretty obvious answer. Would you spend your 30 minutes watching Married at First Sight or 30 minutes of just doing some kind of workout in your bedroom? Living room.
I hate training at home, so I'd drive here, and I know I'd lose 5 minutes both ways, but I'd rather do 20 minutes and 10 minutes of driving than watch whatever show you just mentioned.
I've never watched it. It's just the worst one I can think of, because it's such an obvious trade-off when you choose to spend your energy watching that and getting angry at people who want to be on TV for no particular reason other than they want to be on TV, as opposed to doing something for yourself that you have said you want to do. Is it 30 minutes of social media time, which, goes by in a blink of an eye, or going, I'm going to put my phone over there and do the thing that I swore I was going to do?
Well, okay, so 30 minutes of watching a show that I assume you'd like, or else why would you watch it, versus 30 minutes of a workout. So for those first minutes leading into it, which would be more exciting for you? Watching TV. When you're 5 minutes in to doing either, which is better? Probably the watching TV. When you're 15 minutes into watching TV versus 15 minutes into a workout, where would you rather be? I think it's now, I'd rather be doing the workout. When you get to the 29th minute and you've nearly finished, where would you rather be? A minute to go of watching your show, or would you rather a minute of your work? Like, it becomes more and more clear which you'd rather do, I suppose, in hindsight. Like, how do you feel after watching an episode at the end when the credits start rolling, or when the timer's stopped at the gym? It's it's my advice to a lot of people over the years has been, don't focus on the bit at the start. Like, that's not helpful. Focus on that bit at the end, and you know how good you're going to feel. So, and before you know it, you're going to get to that end point. Focus on that good end point, because you will get to that, of course. Yeah.
So what I grapple with is there's always two answers to that kind of system. The first one is I'm too tired, like I need a rest. Yeah, okay. Again, that's where I'm saying, where am I allocating my energy? I'd argue anyone's got enough energy to do that. Like, No one's exhausted. Their blood sugars are too low. They've collapsed. They've passed out. No one's done that. You're sitting down watching TV or something with, a cup of tea or a coffee or a biscuit or some ice cream, and you're relaxing because mentally you want a break. That's fine. But you've also described yourself as a hard worker, so you can't have both. Right. And number two is the people who say, and I've fallen into this a little bit lately, is that I'm not actually going to watch TV. I'm just working. I've just got too much work to do. And what I've done for myself that I think can be replicated is that whilst I'm working out in this 30 minutes I've kind of given to myself, is that with the technology we have, it's so easy to keep working, to give yourself voice memos, to write your list on your phone during breaks, to kind of send that email. Like, I've got lazy now. I don't want to type anymore. I've had enough of typing. It's off my radar. And look, I still edit, but I will write all of my emails whilst talking into my phone or into the computer. I found out how to do that. So everything's voice to text to send. So it's, you can work and exercise at the same time. It's 2026. So that's how I've got around the two excuses that I know I could have found for myself.
We're not encouraging people to walk around EFM with their phone though, Justin, are we?
No.
But you do. It's like when you're in the shower, it's good thinking time and you have a good idea. You want to get it down. Like if something pops into your head while you're training, you can go over while you grab a drink. You can jot a note. You can do a voice. You can get it down. Like, and when you start moving and exercising and removing yourself from that work head where you're just going round and round and round, you start to get a bit of space. Some good ideas, they can come to you when you're training.
Yeah. So, and look, there's lots of small little techniques. The third big one that I've kind of, look, all of these are mindset, right? That's essentially what we're talking about. The exercises are easy, mindset's hard. The third one is that, again, it's probably more about describing myself. I want to be a professional at this. Like, I don't want to be a professional runner, but I've set myself a goal. I want to run a good business, so I've set myself a goal. So I can either be really amateurish at it and not reply to emails and not respond to phone calls and not pick up the phone and not do that, even though sometimes I feel like I want to. But there's a certain level of professionalism that I want to hold myself to. And you know what? I've made the commitment on social media and on here to say that I'm running this 50K thing. It would be easy for me now to pull out and go, life's too hard. I'll sell my entry to someone, because there's a huge waiting list of crazy people who want to do this 50K run that haven't got entry. So it's really a matter of saying, do I want to be a professional? I want to be an amateur. And I remember my dad saying, when I first became like a golf pro years ago, he goes, you can either be the CEO or you can be the janitor, depending on how hard you want to work. You want to work really hard, you'll be the CEO. You want to slack off and you don't want to do stuff and you want to be kind of a bit lazy, you'll end up cleaning the toilets. It's your choice. You get to choose. There's luck and stuff in the way. But so that's how I've had to think about it. I want to be a professional and this is what it requires.
Yeah.
I guess if we summarize everything, we want to keep this short because it's really easy to overcomplicate, but also go over some, like, we didn't want to make this boring and go, make sure you have a diary. Look, making an appointment with yourself and say, this is what I'm doing, this is where I need to be, is probably the most effective tool. Effective tool for action, what we're trying to provide is the undercurrent behind it.
And that might not work for every single person too.
Yeah. But what I really have got out of this last kind of 4 to 5 weeks is how, like, identifying who and what I want to do and how valuable those things are to me. Now, we all say we prioritize our health, and if you were to list in life what's important to you, everyone goes, my health number one. And again, it's a bit cliched, but no one follows through. these are the tools to follow through. Identify your own traits. Who do you want to be? Like that's crucial. Do you want people to say, yeah, he's a really nice guy, but he's a bit lazy?
Just a quick question to you. Did was it just like a bit of self-reflection? You realize, how have I kept up with this running when I'm as busy and as full as I've ever been, but somehow I just keep getting my runs in? Is that what led you to just looking into this a bit further?
Oh, look, no, I think it was intentional at the beginning. I knew I was going to be busy. And these are some, so when I played, look, and I wasn't a great professional golfer. I didn't look, and if I was a great professional golfer, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be in the US still playing, right? But there's certain things, and what I learned probably too late, that as a sports person, you need to know who you are and what you stand for. And when the moment gets big and important, who do you want to be? So do you want to be fearless? Do you want to be dynamic? Do you want to be the person that wants the ball when the basket needs to be shot? Yeah, who do you want to be? Do you want to be Michael Jordan? Or do you want to? Yeah, or do you want to pass it? Yeah. Or do you want to be LeBron and try and play a bit of hero ball? So that was kind of intentional for me. Who do I want to be? And then it was like, okay, well, all right, this is what I'm not giving up on this. I've said I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Right? I've told everyone I'm not going to. I don't want to be the person that go, it just got too hard. Or if I was injured, different story. But it was like, I'm still doing this. And then it was like, okay, so how do I do it? Where do I squeeze it in? What needs to change from the plan when I had a fair bit of time to now that I don't? So just change the formation of the runs and when things needed to be done and so on. So there was a bit of planning behind it, but it came with the intention first. And then it's just execution. Again, I feel like we're cliched, but it's execution and go, right, I said I'm doing it. I much prefer to sit here with a coffee, but I said that this is what I said I'm doing, and I'm doing it. And now I've got too much work to do. I need an hour to do everything. All right, I've strength training time, and I've got my phone, and I'm talking between sets.
Yeah.
So.
And just with this whole scenario of when people just get busy and they've got deadlines and everything seems to be all happening at once, and the stress climbs with that. And it's just that whole conundrum of that's when a good training session is going to serve you even better than normal. And it's, you know what I'm saying? And it's never underestimate that. Like, that can be one of your absolute best tools in coping with everything going on. And even if it's like, I'm just going to go in and do 30 minutes, that might be a 45-minute workout. I'm just going to go and do 30 minutes. It's all I can spare. I'm going to work hard. And I'm thinking about how I'm going to feel at the end of that session. Trust in the process, come out feeling energized. You've had a reset, and you've done that thing, which is one of your 2 or 3 or 4 workouts in the week, and you're still getting it done. But you got to flip it and find the other positives that are going to suit you in the now. Because I think a lot of people, when they start training, they're not thinking about the now. They're thinking about the 5 kilos, the 10 kilos lost down the track. But there's so many benefits which is great, like in the actual benefits you get right now from that workout. It's a boost. It's a boost. You use energy to get energy. And that's another thing we always forget, even as trainers and just the average person that does my own workouts. You feel tired, you're lethargic, you've been sitting at the computer all day. Like a fun fact, I've been a tradie and I've done a lot of admin stuff, and it was way easier for me as a tradie, having moved all day, to go to the gym. But if I've sat at my computer all day doing emails, using my brain, I'm knackered. I don't want to go and do a workout at the end of the day. So you just have to trust in the process. Once you start moving, That first 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, you're like, where did this energy come from? And you have to keep reminding yourself that that's what happens.
Yeah. I think I hadn't thought about it till right now, but I actually think that doing all the training has made me more effective in all the extra work that I've had to do. And a lot of it is just paperwork and more people to train and whatever. But doing my sessions has made me more effective, better thinker.
I remember a story years ago, Mariano. He was worried about not being able to get to the club in time before we shut. And I said, you know, just squeeze in what you can. I said, maybe when you get fitter and have more energy, you'll get through more. You might be more productive in your workday. He started coming in about an hour and a half earlier than what he used to. And he said, I'm getting through my work way better now. And then it was really weird. Like now he had more time in his day, even though he was only in the workout. So good point. Don't underestimate that side of it either.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's leave it there. I feel like that's got a lot, you know, it's probably more a therapy session for myself, but I actually think, I mean, we all struggle with the same things. We don't have time, modern life, blah, 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 too much to do. But I think if we evaluate who you are, once you evaluate who you are and who you want to be, develop a plan about reaching what you want to do, and then constantly evaluate, you know, to execute. Is this right or is this right? Because you know you've got paths and you can figure it out as long as you're trying to be true to who you want to be out there. So thanks, Wade. Thanks for the therapy.
Do the exercise now. Write down the 3 things you see yourself as what you want to be.
Your traits.
Yeah. Yep.
How you would love people to describe you, and how you'd love to describe yourself at the end of the day. That's probably the most important, and something that all good sporting professionals I know can do really quickly.
So, I heard one during the week. It was at the front of a church, and it was like, live your life how you'd like to see your kids live their life. I thought, wow, that's pretty good, pretty profound.
Yeah. Another one. All right. Thanks, Wade. So you'll find Wade at EFM McGill on Instagram. Michael, who we've run too fast for, EFM Underdale. Myself, still just find me at EFM Westmead. And the Between Sessions Instagram account. I've got lots of things from our previous mold session. We probably haven't promoted enough. I've got clips that will be going on there very soon. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you in a fortnight. Thanks, Wade.
Thanks, Justin. See you guys.
So